Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. It was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So as for now, I have 3 homes. I have my home, which is in Zim, in the villages first. Then I have another one, which is in town. And I have a home, which is in South Africa. So Brother Nashi, currently I am here in Europe. So my father and his brothers, they used to run a funeral parlor, but it was not that big. It was struggling because during those days, you know that in our country, there was like only one, there was this other company that was very big that used to run all the funeral services in our country, and it has branches like all over the world. So my father and his brothers, they tried and they tried, but their business was not making any money at all. Then after my father had passed away, my cousin brothers, they said that they did not want anything to do with running the funeral parlor. So I was the only one who was brave enough, I guess. My cousin brothers, they were not brave enough to run a mortuary. Like I was doing everything by myself at that time. When life got really hard, sometimes I would take like a coffin, and it was illegal what I was doing. Most of the things that I have ever done in my life, they are illegal anyway. We would remove the back seat, and then we will remove the front passenger seat. Then we will push the coffin and until it was inside the boot. That is how I used to transport these coffins. And because I could not afford to buy new vehicles, after the vehicles that had been purchased by my father and his brothers, they had all gone dead, because we only had one taxi that we were using to transport the coffins, going with them maybe to the villages. And that taxi, when it broke down, there was not enough money for me to fix the taxi. And besides, the guy who was my driver, who was also the mechanic, after he had left my company, he went to South Africa. Then I struggled to get another loyal person who thought like me, who worked like me, who could work for me, because I was unable to give the person a lot of money. So when I started struggling like that, I then got married. I got married to a woman that was very beautiful, and at the same time, she was very demanding, and she came from a family that had a lot of money. So at that time, you know, I had told her that life was going to be okay. And she said that all that she wanted was love, true love. But then pressure started to come from her parents, especially the father. They then gave me a list, and this was like the money that they wanted, you know, that the money that we pay for the bridal price. When I looked at the list, I nearly died, I nearly fainted. I don't want to lie to you, because this woman, her parents, they had a lot of money, and they wanted a lot of money from me. It was a lot. I could not afford it. So anyway, I tried. The little money that I got, I went and I paid for a bride price. Then we started staying together, but we stayed together for less than a year. The father was always getting involved. If we would have an argument, then he will get involved. And finally, he took his daughter from me, and then I struggled. You know, when you have lost the woman that you love, there is something that happens to you as a man. You stop being a human being and you become more like a beast, like a wild animal. That is the situation that I was in at that time. I then started going and I'll get these prostitutes, because I did not want to tell a woman that I had fallen in love with her, because the pain was just too much. The love that we had shared, the love that had been there between me and my wife, it was just too much. So I told myself that I am not going to tell another woman that I love her. And you know, like when you want to have sex without telling a woman, there is only one place that you can go to. You go to the prostitutes, obviously. Then they will say, it is fine. Come, let us sleep together. No strings attached. So I was doing this. I would be working and I'll be booking these prostitutes. Then there was one who didn't mind, because on that night I did not have anywhere to go to, because I had failed to pay my rentals in time and I had been kicked out, and I wanted sex. I wanted to relieve the stress. So I booked one prostitute. And I said, do you mind sleeping with me in the car? And there was even an empty coffin at the back when we were busy making love. We just pushed it to the side. So this woman, I saw that she was someone that was very brave. And I then asked him why she was not afraid to make love to me, whilst there was a coffin right there. And she said that she did not even mind. And this woman, I then went with her, but it was on another night. I went with her to my mortuary. We made love, but in the office. And then she said that she knew a healer who could assist me to start making money. The healer was in Mbare. So I said, what does this healer do with all of this water that you say that maybe the healer will be buying this water from me? And she said that she's not sure, but after I would have finished washing the dead bodies, then the healer will buy that water from me. And she said that she was going to make a deal. She will take a certain percentage. She will be going around Mbare speaking with different traditional healers, and then she will hear if they wanted the water that I would have used when washing the dead bodies. Then I'll give her a certain percentage. So we both agreed that this was going to be a win-win situation. So then there was this other woman who was brought to my mortuary. That was the first woman that I used her water, selling that water to the traditional healer. I had washed dead bodies before, but on that night, it was really scary. It was really scary. I was all alone at the mortuary, washing a body. You know, I felt so guilty knowing that the water that I was carefully placing into a 20-liter bucket, it was the water that I was going to sell to that traditional healer. I felt as if she was looking at me, because when this woman had an accident, she died and her eyes were open. She was scary to look at. Her mouth was open and she had a lot of head injuries. But I bathed her, and then I took the water and I called that prostitute. Then she said the following day she will bring the traditional healer. The healer said that he was not allowed to enter into the mortuary where dead bodies are, so he kept his distance. He was parked at a distance far away from the mortuary with his car. I then grabbed that 20-liter bucket that was full of water, and I went to his car, and he gave me my first cash. The amount that he gave me, it was $1,000, Brother Nash. I took that money and I used the money. I got another accommodation, and then the money started flowing in each and every day. Brother Nash, it even reached a point whereby I would go to the hospital to collect a body in the hospital. Then I'll sprinkle some charms when I'll be entering into the hospital premises and pray that more people should die on that day so that they can be brought to my mortuary so that I can wash them, so that I can make money. I did that for a couple of years, bought my first house using that money, and I then spoke with some real estate agents in South Africa, and I told them that I wanted a property there. I invested in South Africa, bought a multi-million rent house, which is up for rental, and then I came here to Europe. I am in Europe right now. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Then he sent another message to me, and he said, it then happened that there was one guy. This guy, he was working for me. So he saw that I was collecting this water and selling the water to the traditional healers. He wanted to expose me, but I could not let that boy expose me. This is what I did to him. So this young man, he was dating another woman who was just a prostitute. And I wanted this guy to be eliminated. And I spoke with that woman and I gave her money, and that is how he got eliminated. She went out. She lied to him that she was returning back to her village to see her mom, but she went out to drink alcohol. She was with some guys that were illegal gold miners. And whilst they were drinking their alcohol, that was when this small boy was tipped. He received a tip-off that his girlfriend, his so-called wife, was drinking beer with some guys that had a lot of money. He then rushed there. This guy, he was stabbed. He died of a violent death. He went into the beer hall and started fighting with those guys, and then he ran away. When he ran away, they followed him. One had hit him with a bottle, And after that bottle had been broken, the guy picked up the bottle and followed this small boy. This young man that was working for me, he then got into his car, but the car refused to start. And the guy just came and stabbed him in the throat with that bottle. That is how he died. He was found dead the next morning, just holding the steering wheel of his car. These guys were arrested, but it all started at the traditional healer's house, where the healer said that he was going to call the spirit of the dead to call out the name of this young man so that he can die. The spirit that he was going to call, the same way that it had died, that was the same way that this small boy was going to die. Later on, he told me that he had called the spirit of this other nephew of his who had been murdered whilst he was fighting for this other prostitute that he used to date. Dear listeners, right there was another message that was sent to me by our dear brother. That was the translation of the message that was sent to me. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world.